think the first acting role to me was, I believe it was my junior year in high school. I played Mark Twain strictly for my English class. So it was years later I saw Jeffrey Lewis, which most people know as Clint Eastwood's sidekick, do a show where he told stories to music. And it just blew me away that he could bring that much emotion across just telling a story. That I started basically telling the stories, in local coffee houses and stuff, and it grew from there to theater, and I just fell in love with theater. And after so many years of it, it was like, let's go do film. Being a single dad with full custody of young ladies, one of our highlights of the year was New Year's Eve. So every New Year's Eve, we would try to stay up, especially me. We would have this sparkling cider from the grocery store when we would try to toast in the new year. And since I was raised with a father who was very goal-oriented and stuff, at a young age, he had me literally setting goals and trying to break them down as to how do you reach those. I wasn't as strict with my kids on that. The question always comes up going, what do you want to accomplish this year? For them, I want to learn to skateboard, or I want to do this or what. And we always had just a great time with it. To me, in some ways, kind of set a goal for them to hit that year. A few years ago, over Christmas break, my identical twin daughters really want to act. We had watched a movie called Parent Trap that Lindsay Lohan had done. And we really enjoyed it, with them being twins and her playing the dual roles. And that was like our Christmas break. So when New Year's Eve came and we did our toasting again, and it was the very first time that they turned around on me and asked the same question. So, Dad, what do you want to accomplish this year? Trying to be quick on my feet at midnight. I said, I'd really love to star in a movie where I get to play two different characters. That would be so much fun. Since I'm always asking them to expand, I just was like, it'd be great if it was a Western. Maybe one of them's a notorious outlaw and the other was like a really respected lawman. And it was a couple of months later, I got a call from a talent manager when I was casting another film. And I didn't really have a match for the film I was doing at the time. And he goes, hey, would you read a script? And I'm like, yeah, I've got so many scripts. I'm, really not interested in anything else. I said, but tell me about it. He goes, well, it starts in 1863. It's in the Old West. Two identical twin brothers, about, 8 to 10 years old, get separated. We flash forward about 30 years, and one has grown up to be one of the most notorious outlaws. And one has grown up to be, and I'm like, I'll take it. So I just bought the script from him. It's primarily about identical twin brothers who get separated at a very young age. And back in the days when there wasn't pictures and video and text, when you lose someone at 8 years old in those days, you may not find them again. And in this story, we see them getting torn apart. One grows up to be one of the most respected U.S. Marshals, while the other has become one of the most notorious outlaws. Is it environment? Is it genetic? Why do we grow up how we are and how we end up where we are? The U.S. Marshal has a family. He has a beautiful wife and two incredible kids with great friends. But the outlaw, which goes by Lucky, actually has his family unit. He has two cohorts, two compadres, two other outlaws that work with him. And they're basically a family unit too. So when we say, Hot Bath and Stiff Drink is about a family, it is about the identical twin brothers, but how they went off to do their own family and how hopefully they can make a full circle and come back together. And we immediately put it into development. And within a short time, I got the funds for it and we cast it. And we shot Hot Bath 1 in Tucson, Arizona. We brought it back and showed it to some of the industry. And they really loved it because it was a true kind of flashback to the old John Ford, Howard Hawks kind of Westerns. There's no nudity, there's no vulgar language. There's still gunshots. There's still, people getting shot. But it's more of the Westerns that we grew up with. So since it was set in the Wild West, 1863, we did a lot of location scouting in New Mexico. We actually did a lot of the Central California areas. And then we made a trip out to Tucson. And there's a studio out there called Old Tucson Studios that was built for a movie called Arizona. But most people remember it from the outlaw Josie Wells, The Quick and the Dead, a great movie called Tombstone. There's been a lot of great films, done there. And when we got there, I was really, really impressed with the sets and the people that ran Old Tucson and the Tucson Film Commission. So we just did a basic test as to what we could get out, local wranglers, horses, etc. In 2 days, we had something like 968 people come out. So, when you take into account Tucson, Old Tucson Studios, Mescal, and you bring in that many of the locals that want you to film there and are there to help, to me, it outweighs tax incentives. I think too many times a producer gets too caught up in chasing the tax incentives. Don't get me wrong, I do love them. We've shot in Alabama and Tennessee and other states where we get the substantial tax incentives back, and they're a great help. But as a producer, you got to look at that bottom line. And when we searched out locations in New Mexico where they have maybe 30%, tax incentives, if you're doing a $2 million film, then you're looking at, hopefully $500,000 or $600,000 back. If I can shoot that same film in a state without tax incentives, I've got to look at shooting it of whatever my net would be, which is 1.4, 1.5. Now, when it comes down to you really comparing, I can shoot $2 million here and get 600 back, and this is what my film looks back, or I could shoot this film for 1.4, and this is what I get. Arizona just gave so much more to this project than having to search down tax incentives. I just like to encourage filmmakers, don't scratch Arizona off because there's not tax incentives. Yeah, then we were just truly blessed enough to bring on an incredible cast in Hot Bath and a Stiff Drink. Granger Hines, a lot of people remember him from Hell on Wheels. He actually plays polo, so it's one of those things when you're doing westerns, people have to ride, but he's an incredible actor and a horseman. Then we brought on Rex Lynn, and I think a lot of people remember him from CSI Miami, but he's done so much work. He also is a team roper, so when he plays, the U.S. agent, and we have, these riding scenes, these guys they're really doing their own stunts, so to speak. There's a whole list of just great actors in this, but one of the most things I'm proud of in this film is the true production value. And as far as just anybody watching the movie, it's not two people in a room or in a jail cell talking. What we were able to pull together with the team that we have. Paula Rogers is just a rock star, costume designer. She had to custom build a lot of the wardrobe that we have. Claudette, we in order to have my double, we had to do a lot of work on those guys to make sure that the over the shoulder shots were clean. Natalie Allen Sullivan did an incredible job with all of our art design and her team. Sitting in Arizona, where you have these incredible vistas, these just incredible sunsets. The landscape alone is one of the characters in this film. We always laughed when the outlaw Josie Wells, a lot of people remember when he drove this train through the bar or whatever. That train is there, and we were able to fix that train up and use it for part of a scene. We had to build some box cars for robbery and all, but that train has so much history. The bar that we used a lot of our scenes in was the primary bar in The Quick and the Dead. That and the locals, from the Wranglers and the others that really came out to support the film. So yeah, we've loved our experience in Arizona, both down in Tucson and our experience so far in Phoenix. Within this year, we'll have 2 more films shot in Arizona. Everybody that I've researched that's quote unquote made it in this industry, there's no 2 that's done it the same way. There's great directors and producers that have come out of USC. There's some great guys now coming out of New York Film Academy and LA Film School. There's becoming a lot of great film schools out there. I can easily share what has worked for me. I can very easily share what has not worked for me and what I learned from it, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. I think that's the real key to it, is understand going in, try to minimize the mistakes, but they're going to happen. Get over it, put it behind you, get up, and keep fighting. I would love to have attended film school. I didn't do it. You got to look at what's best for you, which can bring up the question, what makes you a producer then? If you really get down and define, each role in making a movie, you have the executive producer. The executive producer primarily is the one who either brings the money or brings the money from someone else. The producer is the person who, we call boots on the ground. It's the person who's on set all day, every day. A film usually starts off with a producer. He finds the script, then comes requirement number one, how do I find the money? And in order to find the money, do you pull the team together first to go, I have this team, that's why you need to give me this money? Or do you go in and go, I need this money and I'll do this film? And like I said, every scenario is different. I've made mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. And I'm talking primarily in filmmaking, but I've made other mistakes too. And part of it is, see what worked and continue to do that. Find what didn't work, acknowledge it, take responsibility for it, and just don't do it again. So as much as my real passion is acting, my core is a businessman. And in this industry, that means you're a producer. And does producing require film school? To me, it doesn't. If you want to get into cinematography or some of these other fields, that would be where I would probably recommend it more. Hollywood is still the movie capital of the world. So you have every super talented or very beautiful or whatever it be person from not just every city in the United States, but all over the world, come into Hollywood to make it as a movie star. And there's not that many positions to fill. So it is a tough business. And the good and bad it is my daughters have kind of followed into my passion. My oldest daughter wants to direct, so she's doing music videos and some shorts and all now. My twins are about to turn 16. Their passion has turned more into acting. You don't want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a fire. Can you be anything other than this crazy business? She's following her dream. And I did basically the same thing with the twins, going, this is a lot of fun, but maybe it's not always the best career choice. At the moment, this is where they want to be, and this is what they want to do. So they become great little actresses. I'm very proud of the performances and all that they do, to the point that we're set up to produce a film starring Paige and Autumn in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a great film that was written by Judy Norton. Also, Judy wrote Finding Harmony for me. She's probably best known as Marilyn and the Waltons. When we got together, you were talking about the lack of family content, TV, movies, or whatever was out there, and we both wanted to make family movies, family TV stuff. I know there's definitely a need for it. It's hard when an adult has younger, early teenagers to be able to find anything to watch that all ages would like, and be involved in and could relate to. It's just missing these days. Even at home watching TV together, we would basically end up watching America's Funniest Home Videos, because with all the channels that were out there, it was the same scenario. Either we're watching some totally kid movie that I didn't care for, or there'd be adult movies that wouldn't be appropriate for them. So with this wanting to focus on family entertainment, that's what Once Upon a Dream's goal and intentions are, to produce and possibly market and distribute family entertainment. Can you have a story that involves you and pulls you in without huge car chases and buildings exploding and all these things going on, that is truly about the story? It gives them an opportunity to reflect, or possibly even think and cognite on some things in their own family or their own life. So our intention is to keep moving with family entertainment. We were lucky enough to do a great film called Finding Harmony. It's based around a family, and country music, starring Billy Zane, Allison Eastwood, Ed Bruce, the great up-and-coming Anna Margaret. Then we went off and we did 2 period westerns. One is Hot Bath and a Stiff Drink. It was originally set up to be a trilogy. So currently it's Hot Bath, Stiff Drink, and A Close Shave is the second. We're in development for Hot Bath, Stiff Drink, Close Shave, and A Good Woman, which is the third of the trilogy that we'll be shooting within the next year. Our next film coming up is Another Day in Paradise, starring Paige and Autumn Patterson. It takes place in a water park outside of Phoenix, Arizona, which again involves basically 3 generations of a family, but also other families that come in and out of that park, and how we all relate with each other and commingle. We're looking at a couple of different films for next year. One's called The Last Cowboy, which we'll be shooting in Montana. One called Little River that we'll be shooting in Alabama. Our intention is to make a splash in this market, to let Hollywood know that there's a demand for family entertainment. Once Upon a Dream hopefully will be the production company that delivers it. So we really appreciate all the support we've gotten from the other families and actors and producers out there that really want to see this type of entertainment come back. We'd appreciate you spreading the word about us. If you could, please sign up on our website, onceuponadreamproductions.com. And please sign up and let's stay in touch and look for our films in the near future.